Hey everyone, today I am in beautiful Alexandria, Virginia. And when people talk about Alexandria, a lot of times they get super confused. A lot of people will think that you're talking about Old Town. Yes, Old Town's a part of Alexandria, but there are a whole other bunch of different neighborhoods that are here. And so locally, people will end up differentiating them by either referring to the neighborhood by name or calling it Alexandria City and then Alexandria Fairfax County. This video is actually about the city part, which is inside the Beltway. I'm Alyssa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama, and my channel is about living in DC. So if that's what you're looking for, you can subscribe so that every time I do a new video, you will be updated on when they're released. Location. Let's talk about Alexandria's location. So right now we are west of the Potomac River. We are inside the Beltway. 495 is the southern edge, 395 is the western edge, and it kind of goes almost towards a triangle, but the northern part of it separates Alexandria from Arlington, and there's 4 Mile River there. They call it 4 Mile Run, and that is the border on the north end. So there are a couple metros here. There's Van Dorn Street, that's in the west end of Alexandria. There's Eisenhower, there's King Street, there's Braddock Road. So let's talk about the neighborhoods that are here, because it's more than just Old Town. So we'll start with Old Town because it really is the first neighborhood that everybody thinks of. So Old Town is really Old Virginia. You are talking about brick sidewalks. This is originally part of the capital city. Alexandria resonates with people a lot of times who move here from the Northeast, from Boston, Connecticut, Massachusetts areas, a combination of life near the water, which is where I am now in Old Town, and that feel of an old port town reminds people of New England, but it's definitely got a lot of aspects of like old colonial Virginia. The next neighborhood we're going to talk about is Delray. Delray is between Rosemont and the northern edges of Old Town. Delray is a hoppin' little neighborhood with a really strong sense of community. They've got a major strip there, Mount Vernon Avenue, that's got restaurants and a lot of retail shops. The next neighborhood is Potomac Yard. Potomac Yard has more of a commercial feel. It's south of Pentagon City in Arlington, and it's on Route 1. There's a lot of offices there. There's a lot of high-rise buildings there. The high-rise buildings there have like great views of the city. They're on the Arlington side though. On the southern side, where you go actually into the Alexandria border, you've got a lot of shopping. There's a lot of shops there. They're big box stores. They're more of your chain stores. You're gonna find Target, PetSmart, things like that. And then you also have a lot of new development that's gone in there, a lot of townhouses and apartments and condos. Next neighborhood is Eisenhower. They also call that Carlyle. It's a long strip that stretches along the southern edge of Alexandria inside the Beltway. The western side of it is more industrial. The eastern side is really like just west of Old Town. It's got several high-rise condo buildings. There are offices there as well, so it does kind of have like an office feel, so it's more of like a live-work community. There's also an area of retail and restaurants just off of Duke Street. Next neighborhood is Rosemont. Rosemont is like a quiet little neighborhood. It's a place where people are going to wave at you when you drive by. There's well-manicured homes and lawns. It was developed in the early 1900s. It's mostly single-family homes, and there's a historic district, and Rosemont is often grouped together with another Alexandria neighborhood called Northridge. Northridge has mostly single-family homes as well. This was built a little bit later though. This was 1930s to 1960s. The retail areas are on the edges of these two neighborhoods though. These are all like strictly residential neighborhoods. Another neighborhood to talk about is Park Fairfax. It's almost 1,700 condo homes. Used to be apartments, were built for people coming back from World War II and then went through a condo conversion, and now you've got like 1,684 condos, I believe, in there. They've got their own little community with pools and tot lots and things like that. Another neighborhood is Arlandria. It's a very small neighborhood on the northeast part of Alexandria. It's also a very residential neighborhood, and then that neighborhood is really served more by the retail areas that are in the southern parts of Arlington, more so than they would be in Alexandria. So you'd want to cross 4 Mile Run to get to some retail stuff in Arlington. Fun fact about Arlandria, it was made famous by a Foo Fighters song of the same name. Another neighborhood is Parker Gray, also called Uptown. It's an area west of Old Town that's experienced a lot of growth. There are many smaller 2-story townhomes here, but there's also some new developments by the Braddock Road Metro. Then there's the West End. Seminary Hill is here, which is another neighborhood, mostly residential, single-family homes. There's Cape Cods, well-maintained yards, really cute little neighborhood as well. And then part of West End, there's also a Landmark area, which is just south of Seminary Hill. Landmark's being totally redeveloped. It was called Landmark. There's Landmark Mall there, and the neighborhoods surrounding it were a lot of just apartments and low-rise apartment buildings. That area is going through a total redevelopment. And then finally, there's also Cameron Station in the West End, which is a huge planned community of about, oh gosh, I don't know how many hundreds of townhomes. It was built in the late 90s, mostly townhomes, also condos. So did you know that Old Town Alexandria used to be part of the Capitol back in the day, like in 1800? And then there's a little bit of history here let's talk about. So the ports here in Alexandria were mainly used for tobacco. As mentioned, it was part of the capital city, but it retroceded back to Virginia, mostly for two different reasons. One, they had opinions about slavery here that they wanted to keep slavery as legal. It was falling out of favor in the capital and the DC side. By 1846, the bill passes. But we know also, 19 years later, they lost it again. Anyway, they stayed part of Virginia. The second reason that they wanted to retrocede was because the DC, as we all know it now, was growing much more rapidly. The port in Georgetown was doing much, much better and much more sophisticated. And so thus the more rural Alexandria felt like they weren't being represented well as being part of the city. If they retroceded back, they would get representatives now in Congress who were Southern sympathizers, and they would get those votes back. So let's talk real estate. A good portion of the housing in Old Town is from the 1800s. It's really not super common to find that in the area. You're going to find row homes, condos, and apartments, and Old Town is old. It's old. You'll have newer condos that have popped up in places in Old Town, mostly repurposed by way of conversions of other buildings. So condos can be found in older buildings on the southern edge of Old Town in the 200s, but the newer condos are going to go from 400,000 up into the millions. It's really all about a water view here. Row homes, there's charm here in Alexandria, but the charm is going to cost you. You're looking at houses approaching $1 million and going up from there. Lots of charm, lots of history, and you are going to pay for that. So Delray is the next neighborhood to chat about. The house prices have risen pretty steeply in Delray in the past few years. The main strip, which is Mount Vernon Avenue, and being walkable to this strip and the restaurants and the shops is key. You're going to get a small 500 square foot condo if you want in the 200s, but most prices for condos go well into the 600s and 700s. There are attached row homes in the 600s and 700s, and single family houses are going to set you back about 800 and up. The Eisenhower area has newer buildings. The condos here are 400 for a 1-bedroom. They go into the 600s for a 2-bedroom. Houses are also steep here. They're going to be in the 700s up to $1 million and up. The two neighborhoods that they sort of pack together on the northern side, which is Rosemont and Northridge, the prices here for single families are in the 700s to the millions. Potomac Yard, that's a newer area. Really, a lot of that is built post-2000. It's the further northern part of Alexandria. It's really almost in Arlington or Crystal City, and a lot of people sort of consider it more as like an Arlington or Crystal City area than Alexandria. Newer townhouses here are in the 800s, and condos are 400K. Generally, I feel like this area carries a premium for not having as much of a neighborhood in terms of amenities or being super charming. That is changing, but I think the proximity of this part in Potomac Yard to, say, Reagan Airport for people who may travel for work, if that ever becomes a thing again, or who want the conveniences to be able to just hop on really quickly and be in DC in 10 minutes, they're willing to pay for that in that area. All right, let's talk about food. There is so much here that it's impossible to cover it all. Old Town has everything. American, seafood, barbecue, sushi, French. The highest concentration of restaurants that you're gonna find in Alexandria is in Old Town. Delray is gonna run a close second. There's a lot more indie cafes there. You're not gonna see like a name of a restaurant that you've heard of. There's more mom and pop kind of shops as well as cafes. If you want more chain restaurants, you can go out to Duke Street and further west. Grocery stores are not lacking here in Alexandria either. You've got Harris Teeter, Giant, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. There's even Balducci's, which is a specialty like New York grocery store. You've got everything here, and all different parts of Alexandria are going to offer all different types of access to everything, but you can easily get from one neighborhood into another if you need to get to one of those different grocery stores. As far as fun, I'd say Old Town wins again. You've got the Torpedo Factory, which used to be a munitions manufacturing building. It is now a place for artists to show their work, as well as some condos there. You also have an Old Town Farmers Market, which is the oldest continuously running farmers market, and George Washington used to sell his stuff here too. That's on Saturdays from 7 to noon. Old Town offers walking, the waterfront where I'm sitting right now. There's people here like reading their books, doing some work, eating at the restaurants. It definitely has a vibe that people really enjoy and like. I will tell you, don't miss 523 Queen Street. It's the Hollinsbury Spite House. Built in 1830 by John Hollinsbury, because it was a tiny little area between his house and the next one where there used to be people loitering and horses hanging out in the alley and doing their business. And he got tired of it, so he built the tiniest little house, and it's been owned by the same family for, I think, 25 or so years now. They bought it in the 90s. All right, so Potomac Yard and Delray run a close second in terms of shopping. Potomac Yard is really your big box stores. You've got Target, PetSmart, TJ Maxx, Shoppers Warehouse, which is a big grocery store. Delray's got smaller shops, independent stores, and restaurants. You also have the southernmost boundary stone at Jones Point in Alexandria. Delray has a vintage and flea market. There are also community gardens all over the area. So let's talk now about kids. There are playgrounds in every single neighborhood. Some are smaller neighborhood pocket parks or specific to that community, like you might find in places like Cameron Station. They're less than an acre, or you can also find other larger playgrounds. There's Eugene Simpson, which is between Delray and Old Town North. They've got baseball fields, basketball court, doggy park, garden, playground, tennis courts. There's Cameron Run Regional Park, which is just next to Cameron Station. There's mini golf there, batting cages, Great Waves Water Park. There's something there for all ages. There's Ben Brenman Park, which is a huge, like 60-acre park that's got everything, and that is on an edge of Cameron Station as well. Alexandria has everything on their website on alexandriava.gov. I'm going to put that link in the notes down below so that you guys can access that and find all of the access to all the parks and everything. Another place to check out for kids is the Stabler, the Apothecary Museum. It's Harry Potter inspiration with all kinds of old little medicine bottles and stuff like that. And so some kids that are into Harry Potter find that quite interesting. All right, finally, let's talk about the dogs. So your dogs are not going to be left out here in Alexandria. It is highly, highly dog friendly. There's the First Street Dog Park. Eugene Simpson has a dog park. Monroe Avenue in Old Town North. There's tons of walking that you can do all over the area. There's a system of parks along the river. I am sitting in Waterfront Park right now. It connects to several other parks that go all along the river in Alexandria. And they're over in Eisenhower, there's a dog wash. There's a couple dog parks there. In the West End, they've got a dog park at Ben Brenman, Holmes Run, Wiggly Fields. It is called Wiggly Field. There's a lot to do here. This area, as I said, is super appealing to people, and you are going to find your place here if you are looking for it. Each of the neighborhoods has a different vibe, and they're definitely worth exploring and trying to figure out the lay of the land for each of them so that you can figure out, are you looking for something more quiet, like a Seminary Hill, but with easy access to 395? Or would you like something newer that's over in Potomac Yard? Or do you like the charm of Old Town? Or are you more of the indie person? You like arts community? You might like Delray. So I am Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. Subscribe, share, save, comment, all that good stuff. Let people know that this is what you are watching when you're thinking about maybe moving or relocating to the DC area. Give me a call or message me. I'm happy to help if you need any help with anything like that. And my contact info is coming next. Thanks.